play around. One way is to come down very straight and then stop, which sort of draws attention to the bulb. Another way is to, instead of coming down straight with the shadow, to start turning it out a little bit. Play with what looks better and more natural on you. I'm going to try sort of like turning hers out a little bit. I'm also not doing it super straight. I'm kind of taking it on a soft curve. And keeping it soft in general because she has a much stronger bridge than I do. Now, notice I'm going feature by feature, shadow and highlight. It's a little easier to do it that way, to finish each feature. Just keep your hands really clean so you don't go dipping a highlighted finger into your shadow or vice versa when you're blending. And don't get your brushes confused. You're going to have a big mess or your color confused. And bring that highlight all the way to meet the new shadow line. Even if you have to do it in a couple of phases. Now lengthening the nose and also sort of making a nose more prominent, you can extend that highlight up into here where a shadow from the forehead usually falls. It's going to make the bridge of the nose a little, make the nose as a whole a little larger and more prominent. So do you see how it now sort of opens up to make that bulb a little more prominent? Of course, highlight on the new shape. I'm going to highlight sort of where there isn't a bulb, but I'm going to kind of create one. Bless you. Highlighting that whole region. You can also play around if your nostrils are really different, sort of very subtly shadowing around the nostril to create a new shape there. It doesn't have a lot of payoff because we mostly don't see that. But also if you want to sort of play around with, if one of you has like a really strong nostril shape, I'm thinking like Judd Nelson in The Breakfast Club, like the guy has really sort of flaming nostrils. If you or your partner have a really strong nostril and you want to kind of play with that, subtly shaping around the nostril with plum shadow. Don't go deeper than that. You don't want it to look strange, since it's such a fine area. It can help sort of define that, right? Just be careful about using shadow around this area because it'll create age, and that's not what you want. So keep it onto the nose. What else? Anyone have questions about noses that weren't answered yet? Okay. Lips. I showed you during basic corrective for the large stage how to make the lips larger. Remember, you want to widen in the center and not at the edges or you're going to look clowny. So I'm going to widen her lips. Also, her bow of the lip is softer and wider than mine. Pick one or the other. I think hers are prettier. So what I would do if it were me is I would, well here, I'll show you how to make hers closer even though it's not as pretty. Alright, if you want to change the shape of the lip, especially if you want to make it larger or smaller, go over the lips with your foundation. Take some of that color out. And then you can use the lip pencil or your brush to essentially redefine the lip shape. So I'm going to bring hers closer together to match mine. And I'm going to keep that really subtle. Just as much as you can. The trick is to, as much as you can, use the natural shape of the lip. So I'm going right over her natural lip line in the center. I'm just going to bring it out and down a little sooner. And then if after that you still feel like you can see like the little shadow of her lip line, if we have a little darkened area that we want to disappear, what do we put on it? Highlight, exactly. So I'm going to mix this highlight just so I don't like hit her with something like bright and light. I'm going to mix highlight and foundation here, and I'm just going to go back over and sort of paint over this area that I want to disappear. Sort of redefining the lip. Once you've done it with the pencil, then you can go over it with stronger color. So pull the bow closer together, make it pointier, pulling it farther apart. That's just sort of pencil work. Now, it's the same with actually making the lip smaller. Is I want to use her natural lip line out here, and then I'm just going to color inside that line. Best to preserve the shape that is there and then just come inside it, making her lips. And then going over it with the lip color for stronger color. Kind of making that shadow. Since her natural lip casts a pretty little shadow underneath, I'm hitting that with highlight.
5 minutes.
Thank you. Much appreciated. So it's essentially coloring inside or outside of the lines, but taking out any natural shadows or sort of demarcations or color changes with foundation or highlight or a mix. Yeah. Too far. Yeah. So getting bigger and smaller. Remember too from a previous demo that if you want a lips to appear really full, hit the center of the lower lip with a brighter or lighter color. It'll mimic shine. Forehead we talked about. Cheeks, sculpt with blush. If one of you has really prominent apples, just make sure the other is creating a real strong apple shape using blush. If one of you has really prominent cheekbones, make sure that both of you keep that line really sharp at the top. You can play around a little bit with lifting or lowering cheekbones, but let's work toward a beauty ideal. So whoever has the higher cheekbones, let's aspire to that. Moving up the shadow just a little bit, but keeping it subtle. Sharpness will do more than anything than placement to sort of make those look prominent. And brows I talked about. Questions? Anything I missed? You guys are making Sarah's cheeks appear more full. How do we do that? Highlight. So where Sarah would ordinarily put shadow, try filling in highlight there. Yeah, so it's the same idea that we talked about in aging. Gaunt faces, you know, have longer shadows. Full faces fill in with highlight. You can play with face shape in that way as well. Any other questions? All right, great. So we will not have class on Tuesday. That'll give you a chance to watch one of the films. Thank you. You can start cleaning up. I have.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.